Okay.
Hello,
Hi.
welcome back.
Welcome back.
Today Celeste is going to be telling us a story, so go grab your tea and come sit down with us.
Yes. Today I'm going to be telling you about the JoAnn Matouk Romain case. And yeah, we'll just have to get into it.
Okay.
So JoAnn Matouk Romain had lived in Grosse Pointe Woods, like a suburb in Detroit, Michigan, her entire life. This is a picture of it.
Oh wow, that's beautiful. It's right by the water.
Yeah. In 1980, she married David Romain, and they had 3 children together, Michelle, Kelly, and Michael. In 1994, JoAnn's mother passed away, and unlike being able to grieve like normal, she had a bunch of family drama come up because her parents owned a really successful liquor business, and there was a huge inheritance involved. And the inheritance was supposed to be split 5 equal ways between the siblings, but people were saying that it wasn't split up equally, and so there was just a bunch of drama. Her younger brother, John, he was a bit of a troublemaker. He would get in trouble a lot. He would hang out with the wrong crowd, and he would get mixed up with people that didn't have his best intentions at heart. JoAnn would always be there to support him and back him up, you know. And that further separated the family because the family just didn't like John. JoAnn's brother said that she was an absolute angel. They were best friends, and like he said that she was literally everything to him. Like they were just really, really close growing up, and even as adults, like he just was always around. They just loved each other a lot. JoAnn and her husband ended up getting divorced in 2005, and Michelle, her daughter, said that they always kind of had marital problems, but things just escalated when he ended up cheating on her with her best friend.
Oh my god.
Here's a picture of them as like a younger family in the 80s.
Oh my god, they're adorable. Wow, I can't believe he cheated on her with her best friend.
I know, what a skis, huh? Yeah, so her kids say that she was full of life. They say that she was the best mom. She was really, really warm. She was one of those moms that just like cook, you know, the best meals and like be really nurturing. She was always there for her kids. Her kids' friends would even call her mom and hang out at the house all the time. Like she was just really warm. And she made it her job to be a mom, and she loved it. JoAnn worked at a little boutique, and she had coworkers there that she worked with, and she got along with them super well. She also was considered a devout Catholic, and she would go to church regularly. She was really close with people at church as well. She was just really an outstanding figure in the community. Like everybody really loved her and cared about her and looked up to her. She was really serious about the church. Like she would go to events all the time. On the evening of January 12th, 2010, it wasn't too different from any other night. She was gonna go to her 7 p.m. prayer service, and right before that, she dropped off her son Michael and she got some gas. The prayer service was at St. Paul Catholic Church. This was something that she would attend regularly, like literally almost every day she would go. This time that she went, she didn't tell anybody that she was going, but that wouldn't have been too out of the ordinary for her because it's not like she would tell someone every time she was leaving anyway, you know?
And it was common for her to go there alone without telling people.
Yeah, exactly. She went to the prayer service. Around 9:20 p.m. is when Michelle thought that her mom was getting home. She was in her pajamas and she was coming down the stairs. She looked around the corner and she saw what looked like headlights coming from outside, and she was like, oh, my mom's home. So this is like pretty late, but she... This was around 9:20 p.m. and she was surprised that it took her mom this long to get home. But when she looked outside, she saw that it was a police car. It wasn't her mom.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, and so obviously she's concerned, and when she gets to the door, the cop tells her that her mom is missing, and they found her car abandoned at the church parking lot.
Oh my gosh. Oh, that's so scary.
Yeah, he asked if she was missing, and Kelly, JoAnn's middle child, was like, no, and they start calling her phone, and it's going straight to voicemail, which isn't normal for her. Like, normally she always has her phone on, like she's ready you know.
She's on mom mode.
Yeah, exactly. What's really strange about this is that the car was actually registered to Michelle. They should have been looking for Michelle, realistically.
Yeah.
If they ran the plates, then they would see that it's Michelle's car and they would come to the house and be like, you know, do you know if Michelle is missing, you know?
Or is Michelle home? She left her car at the church.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's kind of odd that they just like assumed that it was JoAnn without like asking, you know?
Yeah, how would they know that it's the mom?
How would they know? Exactly. The whole family gets together and they go to the parking lot where the abandoned car is at, and they're expecting to arrive to, you know, like a normal police scene. But when they get there, there is a huge search and rescue operation happening. The church was directly next to the lake, you know, just a walk's distance.
Wow.
There's the Coast Guard out on the lake. They have divers, they have helicopters, they have the whole scene taped off.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, it's like really intense, and this is not what the family is expecting, because as you know, in the first 48 hours of someone going missing, like the cops aren't known for going that hard for someone that's missing, you know?
Yeah.
They didn't think that anything this extreme was happening yet, you know? Like they
Yeah.
didn't, you know, they were just like, they
Yeah.
hadn't jumped to that assumption that they would meet this many people,
Yeah,
you know?
exactly. Like, she just went missing. Why would they be looking in the lake already?
Yeah, exactly. When they talk to the officer, he says that this is actually a search and rescue effort because they believe that JoAnn unalived herself
Oh my god.
by walking into the lake. This is in the middle of January, up by the Great Lakes. It's below 20 at 9 p.m. It's freezing.
Wow.
JoAnn didn't have any history of mental illness. She didn't have any, like, family history of mental illness. And she wasn't taking any medications of any kind.
Oh my god, okay.
So the family is like, I don't think so. And she hadn't been like acting depressed or anything in the coming days before this happened. So like they just didn't believe that this was a possibility.
Yeah.
But this is what happened earlier that evening. Lieutenant Andrew Rogers noticed a silver Lexus SUV parked in a one-way exit driveway next to the church. When he ran the plates, he saw that the car belonged to Michelle, and he saw that the registration expired a few days prior, but because the car was parked on a private drive, like he was like, it doesn't seem like this warrants a citation, and he just drove away. About an hour later, Public Safety Officer Keith Colombo, also on patrol, came across the same car, and he observed that it was the only car in the driveway. And according to Chief Daniel Jensen, Director of Public Safety for Grosse Pointe Farms, the church was dark with no apparent reason for the car to be there. So that's why he decided to go over and check it out. When he went over, he could see that the car was locked, but he could also see that on the passenger side was someone's purse with a wallet showing at least $1,200 like visible.
Oh my gosh, that's crazy.
Yeah, no phone or keys in or like near the purse. JoAnn wasn't the type of person to go anywhere without her purse, and like this purse specifically she got like a few weeks prior, and it was a designer bag, and she loved it. Like she treasured it. For her to not have her purse was really odd. He ran the plates the second time, and then he decided to search the area. And then that's when he saw that there were footprints that led down to the lake. There was a slanted hill, and it looked like somebody sat and slid down.
What?
And then there was another one, and it looked like the same thing happened again. The bottom of that little hill, there's a 5-foot ledge that you would have to jump down to get to the water.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. JoAnn is a 55-year-old woman. You know, she's just a mom. Like, she's not like a super... Like, even if she did drop her keys down there, like, why would she be like, oh, I'm capable of, like, jumping down there and getting my keys and phone?
Yeah, jumping down 5 feet and grabbing them. That's insane.
Yeah. It just doesn't make any sense. Based on Officer Colombo's findings, he believed that somebody had entered the water. So he radioed his findings to his supervisor, Lieutenant Rogers, who then contacted the U.S. Coast Guard, and they prompted the search and rescue operation.
Oh, I see. Okay.
They said that the water was super shallow, which meant that she would have had to walk over 2 football fields distance to actually be fully submerged in the water.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's a lot.
Yeah. There could be many reasons for JoAnn possibly taking her life. Like, there's no way for us to know, but like, her family really didn't believe that this was a possibility. And one really big factor that plays a role in why I think she probably didn't do that is the fact that she was so devoted to her religion, you know? It was so, like, it's against Catholicism to do that, to, like, unalive yourself, you know? She was dedicated.
Yeah, this was a woman of God. I was also going to say she was so involved with her family and her community. And, like, she was so heavily involved. I just don't see her doing that.
Yeah, exactly. So JoAnn's family called around, but they couldn't get a hold of anybody that was at the prayer service that night. When the family arrived at the scene, they said that it was Joe, which is never a good way to describe a crime scene.
Yeah.
They said that it was really disorganized. They said that the cops just were trampling all over everything. They just didn't seem like they knew what they were doing. And it was extremely poor investigative work.
It's disappointing, but not surprising.
Yeah. Within a few hours of when she supposedly walked into the water, they have divers, boats, and helicopters out there. And she would have had to walk 2 full football fields distance to actually be submerged in below like 20-degree weather. So it's like, how did no one see her if they had that whole entire operation out there? She must not have been there. They should have been looking somewhere else.
Yes.
That's great that they've searched there, but it's like they shouldn't have like just ruled that as the only possibility.
Yeah, if she wasn't there, then look somewhere else for her.
Exactly. And she was wearing all black. She would have stood out. It was like the water was icy. There was snow everywhere, you know?
Yeah.
She was in head to toe. She was dressed in all black.
Oh my god.
Even her shoes.
Yeah, somebody would have definitely had to see her.
Yeah, and on top of that, she had 4-inch heels on.
Oh my god. So they thought she walked 2 football fields, or she would have had to walk 2 football fields in 4-inch heels.
Yeah, and down those 2 icy slopes.
Oh my.
Which, like, how would you walk down icy slopes and jump down a 5-foot ledge?
Yeah, that makes absolutely no sense.
In general, when it's icy, but especially in high heels?
Yeah.
What was really odd was that when they checked the water and the ice, like where they claimed that JoAnn had jumped into the water, they said that there was no disturbance. Like, you would be able to tell because of how much snow and ice is on top of the water, but there was no disturbance there, so it's like, you know, where did she go in?
Yeah, that's so dumb.
Yeah. It was really odd, though, because there were also no footprints leading back up. Her family said that she didn't show any signs of being depressed necessarily, but she was acting a little bit more cautious or a little bit more afraid in the days before she had gone missing. They also said that she was really cautious and she would never go near an icy lake.
She was acting weird, like more scared towards the end?
Yeah. Despite what the cops believed, the family pleaded for them to keep looking.
Yeah.
And they specifically asked the police to use like a canine unit. And the police were like, they can't track scent when it's cold like this. And Michelle later found out that that was a lie.
Oh my god.
Yeah.
That's absolutely ridiculous.
And according to Chief Jensen, there were no signs of a struggle either in or around JoAnn's car. So to him, it didn't seem like there was a disturbance. In their opinion, there was no evidence that suggested foul play. There wasn't any blood, bullet casings, like scuffings on the car windows, nothing that they could see. So at 4 a.m., the Coast Guard helicopters were called off. JoAnn's car was towed to the local police station and her family was just left in confusion because they didn't know where she was, you know?
What the hell?
Yeah. And Detective Lieutenant Richard Rosati of Grosse Pointe Farms inspected the car for fingerprints, but he only found smudges, no clear prints, and he also didn't test for any DNA or fingerprints on the purse, which doesn't make any sense.
That makes absolutely no sense.
And they didn't check for DNA anywhere. Like, not in the car, not in the, like, they didn't check anywhere.
What?
Yeah.
That's crazy.
I know. After 48 hours, Grosse Pointe Farms Police transferred the case to Grosse Pointe Woods Police because JoAnn was a resident of that area. And because of JoAnn's popularity in the community, when people found out that she was gone, like, they were freaking out. Like, it was the end of the world for a lot of people because they loved her, you know?
Yeah.
A large-scale search was launched by the family and by the community, and they made flyers and they dropped them off and hung them up all over town. And they searched everywhere from wooded areas to dumpsters looking for JoAnn.
Wow.
And a thorough 3-day search took place in the area where police believe that JoAnn may have entered the water.
Mm-hmm.
The Midwest Technical Recovery Team, a specialized dive unit, was actually hired for an extended 3-day search. They confirmed that JoAnn was not in the water. They also confirmed that there was virtually no current whatsoever and that the water was really clear. So if she had been in the water, she would have been easy to spot. William Robinette, the team's director, stated that this was the most extensive search that he and his team had ever conducted.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
That's crazy.
With everything that they found, he believed that JoAnn never entered the water there.
Oh.
With nothing found and the cops just calling it a suicide, they ended up closing the case. Michelle and her family were left with virtually no answers as to where she was,
That's so messed up.
Yeah. And so they decided to hire a private investigator of their own. And his name was Salvatore Rastrelli, and he was an expert in the crime scene investigation scene, but specifically with water-related cases.
Mm-hmm.
So he was going to be a big help when it came to finding JoAnn.
Oh my gosh.
And he actually told Michelle that he is not the kind of person that would pick up a case unless he thought that something sketchy was happening.
Oh.
So yeah, he definitely believed that this was not a suicide.
Wow.
He noted that the crime scene had been disturbed, that the cops had trampled all over it. He also said that the cops were not taking the appropriate photographs that they should have been taking. For photos of footprints specifically,
Mm-hmm.
they're supposed to take overhead pictures, and they're supposed to cast it and mold it so that they can compare it to different size shoes and figure out what kind of shoe it was, to figure out what happened to the person,
Mm-hmm.
to conclude that it is suicide,
Yeah.
But they didn't do that. Instead, they just took landscape photos of the footprints. So there was no way for those footprints to be measured or compared in any way. There was no way for them to confirm that those were JoAnn's footprints.
That's crazy.
Yeah. Chief Jensen acknowledged that the footprints found were not confirmed as exact prints. There were 2 prints with some evidence of sliding, but Detective McCarthy believed that they appeared to come from a small high-heeled boot.
Mm-hmm. How did you determine that, little guy?
Yeah, literally. That's what's weird, is the family believed that the footprints looked a lot more like a business shoe or a tennis shoe, and they looked a bit wider, and JoAnn was wearing petite high heel booties,
Yeah.
So weird.
Wow. That's shoddy police work.
Yeah, straight up. There were also footprints near the water, but the police claimed that the Coast Guard made those footprints. They also claimed that they inadvertently destroyed some of the prints in the process.
And you called the Coast Guard, so wouldn't it be your job
to make sure they
pictures of
don't do
everything?
that?
Yeah. To gate it off and everything.
Exactly.
That's so stupid. That's them admit, even if that was the case and that did happen, they're admitting their negligence.
Mm-hmm. Straight up.
Ooh.
Yeah. Salvatore was sure that JoAnn didn't go in the water, and he felt like this was a possible murder or abduction. He felt like somebody probably abducted JoAnn, attacked her, and drove her body somewhere else and dumped her, and then put the car back. Michelle and Kelly also hired a man named Bill Randall, and the first thing that he did was he pulled JoAnn's phone records to figure out if JoAnn had felt unsafe or something. That's the first thing that the investigators should have done.
Mm-hmm.
Upon inquiring, they found that she had been calling a security company, and she was trying to hire an investigator, and they found out that the evidence suggested that she felt like she was being followed or threatened in some kind of way.
Oh my god, I wonder who.
Yeah, and after that came out, Michelle and John started thinking back, and they were like, yeah, her behavior was a little bit odd,
Yeah, you mentioned they were acting that she was acting a little sketchy.
Mm-hmm. John specifically was acting like maybe JoAnn was hiding something because he felt like she was trying to protect the family. Which, I don't know, maybe.
From what, I wonder?
Yeah. So a few days before she went missing, one of her coworkers noticed that she was getting a lot more calls than usual.
Mm-hmm.
And these calls she would specifically take in private every time.
Oh.
Yeah.
But, like, she wouldn't take other calls private? Only these recent ones?
Yeah.
Ooh, that's sketchy.
Yeah.
Do you guys hear the thunder? It's shaking our house.
It's
I don't know if
shaking
you
our
can hear that.
house. It's scary. The private investigator also found out that she felt like her mail was being intercepted, and she felt like her phone was being wired or tapped. And on top of that, she was so worried that she felt like someone was coming in her house. She eventually got her locks changed.
Ooh.
Yeah.
This is so sketchy.
I know. And Kelly remembers her mom saying that she felt like she was being followed by someone new each day. But why? Like, why did she feel that way?
Oh my god, this reminds me of gang stalking. Have you heard of that? It's where people claim that the government is following them for some reason. Like, maybe, like, I think, like, MK Ultra vibes, you know? It's, like, always a new person, I think. Or it's, like, often a different person, and they'll, like, watch you, like, in your car. They'll, like, drive. I think that's what it's called.
Ooh, that's so creepy.
Mm.
Randall spoke with a number of witnesses from the church, and they indicated that they did see JoAnn at the service. Approximately 7:15 to 7:20 is when it ended, and one of the witnesses said that she thought that she heard JoAnn's car alarm going off, but she thought it was just like a trigger alarm, like when you open the door and it goes off.
Mm-hmm.
The witness saw lights flash for like 15 seconds and then it stopped. They didn't think anything of it because there were no other disruptions like noises or anything. Another witness saw the lights on the car flash as if somebody was locking it or unlocking it with a key fob, but she didn't see anybody near the car. A witness who left the service around 7:25 p.m. only recalled seeing a black van parked in the driveway. She did not see JoAnn's car. Another witness left the church between 7:25 and 7:35, and she was one of the last to leave, and she said she felt uneasy because it was so dark. As she proceeded towards her car, she looked both ways, to the right and to the left of the driveway, and she didn't notice any vehicles parked there. This would mean that at some point, JoAnn's car was gone.
Yeah.
So JoAnn's car left the church, then came back at some point. John says it was if someone moved the car and then put it back really close to the same spot, but not the exact same spot. And no one would be able to tell the difference, you know? Yeah.
Ooh, that's so creepy.
I know. Another witness told the police that when she left Grosse Pointe Academy, that's located directly next to the church, around 7:50 p.m., she saw an unfamiliar light-colored crossover vehicle. She thought that it was a Mercedes. It was parked right near the church, and she was the last person to leave the school. She didn't see anyone in the car, and she didn't notice anything suspicious at the time. However, later, she saw a man running, and he didn't have a coat on. He just had a scarf. Yeah. At 8:58 p.m., Officer Roger was the first officer to run Michelle's plates on the car. He didn't notice any footprints. An hour later, 9:58, the second officer arrives, Officer Colombo, and he runs the plates. That's when he notices the footprints, right? The police state that the investigation began at 10. Michelle and Kelly specifically remember the police arriving at their house at 9:24 p.m. On top of that, they have phone records to prove it because they started calling their mom, remember? And it kept going to voicemail. It shows they were calling their mom between 9:30 and 9:45, which confirms that the police wouldn't have started the investigation at 10.
Yeah. What? They're straight up lying.
And why would they be lying about the time like that? For what?
Yeah.
It just doesn't make sense.
Unless they had something to hide.
Yeah. On Saturday, March 20th, 2010, 70 days after JoAnn's disappearance, her body was found by two fishermen on Boblo Island. This island is located in the Detroit River's Livingston Channel in Amherstburg, Ontario. And a detective gave Michelle the news later that day, and the family's worst fears were confirmed.
Oh, that's horrible.
Yeah. And for Michelle, losing JoAnn was the worst thing that she went through. Like, she just was so close. All her kids were.
Yeah.
They just loved their mom so much. They were all devastated. The family was devastated. Even though she was found, though, they still didn't believe it was suicide.
Yeah.
And they were going to fight to find answers. The first thing that they wanted to look at was the fact that Amherstburg, Ontario is 35 miles away from where she allegedly entered the water. Michelle and the private detective drove down there to see how far away it would be. Even driving, it felt like a really, really far distance. And there was no current. So what would have taken her that far?
It's literally winter.
Yeah. 2 days after her body was found, her identity was confirmed through dental records. Her body was in such an advanced state that she had algae and zebra mussels growing on her legs.
Oh my gosh.
And if you don't know what zebra mussels are, they're like those little mussels that grow on the side of ships, like really old ships and stuff. Dr. Jeffrey Jensen, a professor of forensic pathology at University of Michigan, says that her body probably was there for a long time. The Canadian coroner who performed JoAnn's autopsy noted in his report that neither the United States or the Canadian police suspected foul play. And in his report, he stated that there was possible paranoid psychosis. Nevertheless, he wrote that he found insufficient evidence of suicide.
What could have been the proof of the psychosis? I don't understand.
Yeah, exactly.
As an autopsy, as like a,
Get this. The shoes didn't have any scuff marks. They were still completely intact on her feet. They didn't have any scuff marks, scratches, like no sign of damage whatsoever. They still looked brand new. The only thing that she had on her shoes was algae from the water.
From it growing. It sounds like somebody dumped her there.
Yeah. Straight up. Based on the lack of significant injuries, they felt like homicide was unlikely. Dr. Jensen was brought in to perform another autopsy. And in his opinion, JoAnn's cause of death was drowning, but he said it wasn't regular drowning. He said she died of dry drowning, which is where your lungs are compromised before your body enters the water. He labeled the manner of death as undetermined, and he said he couldn't determine whether it was a homicide, suicide, or accident. And there were 2 bruises on her upper left arm, which is where she usually carried her purse.
That's so weird.
Yeah. Her jacket was zipped up all the way up to her chin. All of her pockets, like on her jacket, everywhere, like every single pocket was zipped up. And her keys were zipped up in the pocket. But her phone wasn't there. And her kids were like, she would never zip her jacket up that far. Like, she would get uncomfortable. So why was it all zipped up like that?
Oh.
Yeah. So Michelle really felt strongly that this was a homicide. She felt like somebody took her mom, And at this point, they wanted to look at suspects. So she had a few suspects that she wanted the police to look at. And the first person was her dad.
Her dad?
Yeah.
Oh my god.
Because remember, he cheated on her mom?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So, like, before that happened, like, they had some pretty bad marital problems. Like, they would fight and stuff,
Like, they argued a lot.
Yeah. And so she thought that maybe, like, it was a possibility. He'd never agreed to be on Unsolved Mysteries, so I'm just like, he's kind of a weirdo,
Yeah,
I get it.
Weird.
I get why she would suspect him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Why wouldn't he just be on it?
Exactly. But after doing some digging, the cops didn't think that he was involved at all. And another possibility that Michelle thought of was her uncle John, JoAnn's younger brother.
Oh,
the one she loved. Yeah. Not that he did anything, but that because he got involved with the wrong kinds of people, maybe like he attracted some trouble and they took JoAnn's life out of revenge or to get back at him or something like that.
Yeah.
She thought that was a possibility, and John did agree to go on the show, and he talked really highly of JoAnn on the show, but there were a few things that he said that were a little bit odd. Like at one point, I don't know if it was the producers but they were talking about how John's past could be the reason for JoAnn going missing and getting attacked.
Oh my god, that's crazy that they asked about. I mean, I would too, but
yeah. And he was like, I can't help that. There's nothing that I can do about that. Yeah.
What?
just kind of a weird thing to say when it's like your sister. Like, what?
They were like, do you think that because of your sketchy past, like that could have had something to do with it? And he was just like, well, I don't know.
Yeah, basically.
Ooh, that's a red flag. Well, and also maybe it could either be like a red flag, or it could be him being like, I've been asked this so many times that I'm not gonna entertain it.
Yeah, exactly. And I've heard other people say that too, that like maybe he was just like trying to save his neck kind of thing, you know, or just like try to make himself not look so bad. I don't know.
Yeah.
Who knows? The person that Michelle suspected most of all was her mom JoAnn's cousin, Tim Matouk. Because ever since that family drama happened with the inheritance, Tim and JoAnn just didn't get along. Tim specifically seemed to maybe have problems with John. And because JoAnn stood up for him all the time, like, I don't know, maybe it caused more drama. Tim mentioned that his last conversation with JoAnn was in October of 2009. He said that it was just a simple conversation, like he was confronting her about something that she said. But Michelle remembers the conversation, and she said that it went very differently. And she said that her mom was yelling, and she could hear Tim yelling as well, even though he wasn't on speaker. JoAnn said, "How did you get my number? Never call me again." And she said, "I never said you were the root of everyone's problems. You need to stay out of everyone's business. Leave me and my family alone. Never call me again." And she was shouting this. And Michelle said she wasn't really the type of person that would shout.
That's kind of what I feel like.
Yeah.
That's crazy. Why is Tim lying?
Exactly. JoAnn met with a paralegal named Nancy Barish before she had gone missing. And she stated that Tim was the one that was following her, or somebody that was working for Tim was following her.
That's terrifying.
I know. So when Tim was interviewed, he said that the reason why he confronted JoAnn was because he was told he was the source of all of Bill's problems. Bill is JoAnn's other brother. And so he got mad and he confronted her. After that conversation on the phone, JoAnn was really, really upset, and she asked Michelle to take her to the liquor store to talk to her brother, Bill. When she got there, Michelle waited in the car, so she doesn't know what the conversation looked like. But when JoAnn came out, she was way more upset than she was when she got off the phone.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Oh, I wish we could go and know what they talked about.
Yeah, I know. Michelle was trying to figure out what was going on, but her mom wouldn't say anything. And immediately after, she was like, "Can you take me to church? I need to go pray." And so they went to church immediately after.
What happened? Like, what did Bill say that got her so upset?
Yeah, and she wouldn't say, but Bill later told the investigators that they just had a normal conversation, and that she was telling Bill to stay away from Tim because Tim is dangerous, that he's not a good guy. He said that he didn't understand why that he liked Tim. He felt like he could trust him. He didn't understand why she felt that way. And then when JoAnn's body was found, John, her younger brother, asked Tim not to come to the funeral. It kind of seems like maybe it was discussed between the brothers that Tim maybe had something to do with it.
Oh my god.
Yeah. So, all of that to say, Tim Matouk is a police officer. Yeah. Michelle definitely felt like something was going on. The family definitely felt like something was going on. But the PIs couldn't find any evidence to prove that Tim had anything to do with it. And he was on duty that night, which that in itself is a little bit weird.
I'm like, that literally means nothing.
I know, and he supposedly had witnesses to back that up.
Oh, his cop buddies?
Yeah, literally.
Okay.
Yeah. In June of 2014, Michelle and her family filed a $100 million civil lawsuit against the city of Grosse Pointe Farms and other defendants, accusing them of conspiring to cover up JoAnn's murder. And they alleged that local police protected one of their own, likely Tim, and altered witness statements, falsified reports, and focused solely on suicide. And this is another thing that's really, really weird. JoAnn's spare keys to the car had gone missing 1 month prior to her disappearance. The spare keys were found at the police station the day after she went missing.
Oh my god.
Yeah.
They were just found there?
With no clue as to where they came from.
Wow. They like don't, it almost feels as if that's definitely the case, that they were protecting one of their own by hiding her murder, and then on top of that, just not even being calculated about it. Like they're just like, oh well, they just found, like they're just like, nobody's gonna hold us accountable, so we're just gonna play cops.
Yeah, literally.
We're just gonna lie and make up whatever.
It's so gross. A witness named Paul Hawk, he claimed to have seen JoAnn with 2 men the night that she went missing. He said that there were 2 cars parked illegally on the street that night. And he said that there was one man standing by the car, and then there was another man that was waving him past, and he was pretty sure that that man was Tim Matouk. And he spoke to the police about this for 40 minutes, and they waived off his testimony and said that it wasn't credible.
Oh my God, the illegal parking cops love to do that. The men, that's crazy. That's what I was thinking when you said the witness saw her with 2 men. I was like, that's literally Tim.
Yeah.
If it is him that did it, which it sounds like it was, like, it's chilling to think of him being applauded by the public still for being a public servant.
Ew, I know.
You know, just going on about his life. We're paying, our taxes are paying his salary. Like, that's crazy. Like today, like right now. Oof.
So gross. The lawsuit claimed that the police altered other witness statements as well as ignored crucial information, and they obviously trampled all over the crime scene. They didn't handle any evidence properly. They didn't do like anything they were supposed to do.
Yeah.
Despite the accusations, in 2018, the lawsuit and its appeal were dismissed. The judge acknowledged, though unresolved and disturbing facts were found, the family couldn't prove their claims. So the police maintain that JoAnn's death was a suicide. They deny any cover-up, and Michelle and her family continue to believe that JoAnn's death was not a suicide.
Yeah.
They believe that this was foul play, and they're still looking for answers. And I think that this case is important to tell because stuff like this happens all the time.
All the time.
This is still happening, you know? The family's still dealing with it. So, yeah, if we can find any justice for JoAnn, like, we should try.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
We're gonna finish getting ready. We'll be right back. Okay, we're back.
Hi. Thank you so much for being here with us. And if you want to hear more stories like this, don't forget to subscribe because we are aiming to drop more videos. So, yeah. Thank you for being here. We hope you have a good day.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.
If you ever need a friend